While Trump was busy marching to the sound of his own claps, the real numbers sneaked in, and let's just say they didn't bring party hats.
Some interesting numbers here. I think we'll start with this one. The bottom line we always ask here in this Decision Desk poll: do you approve or disapprove of how Donald Trump is handling his job as president? And it's 45-55. And we did take this same poll a couple months ago, and it was 45 approved, 55 disapproved back then. So no change.
And if the polls didn't make it clear enough, the parade screamed it. All the flags, all the noise. But the real star of the show? Rows of empty seats.
On Saturday, Trump had this his much-anticipated stupid Sweet 16, disguised as a tribute to the U.S. Army. He bone-spurred his way out of. After all the hype and money, somewhere around $50 million, it was boring. It was basically a $50 million version of when a 5-year-old shows you every car in his Hot Wheels collection.
Just as Trump's birthday bash stumbled into a sea of empty chairs and secondhand embarrassment, something else dropped. Quiet, sharp, and impossible to ignore. General Mark Milley, calm as ever, spoke up. Not to praise a man, not to pledge to a party, but to remind everyone where loyalty really belongs: the Constitution. He didn't name names. He didn't need to. When the streets are blocked off for a celebration that barely draws a crowd and a retired general suddenly starts schooling the country on who the military actually serves, you start to wonder, what was this parade really about? Everything you're hearing comes straight from real footage, public records, and official statements. No guessing, no spin, just facts that speak louder than the fireworks ever did.
Or as Trump would say, there were record-setting crowds. Bleachers, you could see, were mostly empty. The crowds were sparse. There was not a whole lot of cheering for the tanks and military vehicles. This tank was very squeaky. This one could have used some of Diddy's baby oil to get it going a little bit. And that is
Jimmy Kimmel didn't sugarcoat it. He saw it for what it was. A puffed-up birthday bash wrapped in camouflage and ego. Behind the $50 million fireworks and rehearsed salutes, the real scene played out on the ground. Silent streets, scattered onlookers, and an emptiness you couldn't ignore. What was sold as a tribute to the nation ended up feeling more like a tribute to one man's reflection.
United States Army, they did a magnificent job yesterday. I mean, they executed the mission, conducting this parade absolutely brilliantly and flawlessly, as I knew they would, and they always do. Having said that, it was a colossal waste of time, effort, and money. We don't need, that's not who we are. We don't do these kind of things. We don't march down the streets like that. We prove ourselves and our value as an army, our strength as an army, through our actions, not parades. That's something that dictators do.
On the surface, the parade went off without a hitch. Picture-perfect salutes, shiny uniforms, all by the book. But behind all that pageantry, even a retired Army general had to speak up. Stephen Anderson gave credit to the troops, then ripped the mask off. He called it what it was, a massive waste. "This isn't who we are," he said. "This is the kind of thing dictators do." And just like that, those birthday banners stopped looking patriotic and started looking like warning signs.
And if you go to any of the big No Kings rallies on Saturday, make sure to stop by the Antifa accounting table to pick up your check. You will be paid. And the sick individual who's making this happen is busy planning his big birthday parade, or as I'm calling it, Farty Gras. Trump is having a parade tomorrow. He claims the parade, which will cost American taxpayers somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million, is meant to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Army. And who better to lead that celebration than a felon who dodged the draft by getting a note from his father's podiatrist?
And then late-night TV did what it does best: serve the truth with a smirk. Jimmy Kimmel nailed the irony. $50 million military tribute fronted by a man who dodged service thanks to a conveniently timed doctor's note from Daddy. It wasn't just over the top, it didn't even fit the label. The only thing that truly marched that day, the hypocrisy in full uniform.
Donald Trump has stolen this money, essentially taken it and used it under priority. So I think that it was what happened yesterday, although wonderful to watch and behold, and it's great to see soldiers do well, it was a colossal waste of time, money, and effort.
General Anderson didn't sugarcoat a thing. He said it straight. Trump didn't just waste money, he hijacked public funds to throw himself a spotlight. A national budget turned into a personal stage. The soldiers marched, the cameras rolled, and the taxpayers picked up the tab. But the crowd, still nowhere to be found. And just when you think the show couldn't get more awkward, someone steps up to say the one thing Trump can't stand. No. Don't blink. General Mark Milley is about to draw a line. This isn't opinion. It's all real. Caught on camera, backed by records, and played exactly as it happened. We'll let the footage do the talking.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core.
He is the most dangerous person ever. I had suspicions when I talked to you about his mental decline and so forth, but now I realize he's a total fascist. He is the most dangerous person to this country, a fascist to the core. Milley repeated to me, I will never forget the intensity of his work.
While Trump was busy polishing parade clips like a campaign trailer, someone else stepped into a very different spotlight. General Mark Milley didn't drop names. He didn't have to. His words cut sharper than any late-night joke. He reminded the country that the U.S. military doesn't serve a man or a wannabe monarch playing dress-up. It serves the Constitution, period. Off camera, Milley didn't shout. He didn't need to. His warning landed like a siren in the dark. He wasn't talking about a policy mistake. He was pointing at a threat, not from a foreign power, but from inside the house. And when a general starts talking like that, not about some overseas enemy, but a former president, you have to ask, were those tanks pointed in the wrong direction the whole time?
Or as Trump would say, there were record-setting crowds. Bleachers, you could see, were mostly empty. The crowds were sparse. There was not a whole lot of cheering for the tanks and military vehicles. This tank was very squeaky. This one could have used some of Diddy's baby oil to get it going on. And that is it's a shame, you know?
And then there's this, a string of words, all from the same man who once sat behind the desk in the Oval Office. No need to add anything, just listen. Because once you hear what he says, and how often he says it, you start to get it. The real concern isn't who he's blaming, it's the mirror he keeps avoiding. So after all the noise, the speeches, the warnings, what followed wasn't fire, it was silence. No crowds, no applause, just the sound of rain hitting pavement, and rows of empty chairs carrying the weight of everything left unsaid.
We don't take an oath to a country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that is America, and we're willing to die to protect it.
For a man obsessed with crowd size, this had to sting. Bleachers sat empty, untouched, like the invite list never got sent. No applause. Just the awkward squeak of tank treads and a stubborn drizzle that wouldn't let up. And Jimmy? He didn't need to crack a single joke. The silence was the punchline. Meanwhile, on the other side of America,
the much, much larger crowds were the groups of Americans gathered to protest Trump and his new default first, ask questions later immigration policy. More than 5 million people showed up all over the country, including in Philadelphia. There were huge crowds in St. Louis. There were 200,000 people in the city of New York. That's San Diego, 60,000 strong. Boise, Idaho had a huge protest. And then in Los Angeles, we had 200,000 people in downtown LA alone. Many more in other spots.
while Trump was busy tallying tanks and showing moves, the real America was out counting steps, marching loud and clear. From Boise to Brooklyn, millions hit the streets, not for a parade, but to push back hard. Jimmy didn't have to hype it up. When 5 million people shout together, even silence has to listen.
In Torrance, down in the South Bay here, there were thousands of people there, all peaceful, friendly, no trouble. There weren't even any police around, but there were a lot of very creative signs. There are so many great signs like this. If Melania doesn't have to live with them, why do we? You know it's bad when a straight white guy is marching. And you made an Asian stand in the sun, you monster. Nobody's eating the dogs. Trump has a mugshot, my parents don't. I see the way Melania looks at Gavin Newsom. And you suck in Home Alone, too. A lot of work.
Sometimes the loudest protest isn't shouted, it's written in Sharpie on cardboard signs. In Torrance, those signs spoke volumes. And somewhere in Philadelphia, a voice just as strong made sure it was heard.
We've got no kings here. We've got no queens here. We've got no emperors. We've got no titles of nobility here. President Trump, happy 79th birthday. Sorry we couldn't make it to your party, but we did pay for it. You are not our king, and we are not your subjects. We will never be your subjects. The people are sovereign, and we are all equal in the eyes of the law. All of us born here on this land are citizens, and your executive order is nothing but bad graffiti on the Constitution, and we're gonna wash it off today.
And in a country still piecing itself back together, this isn't just absurd, it's dangerous. From a birthday parade dripping in ego to a phone call from the White House trying to silence a comedian, this wasn't a meltdown. It was a head-on crash between power and punchlines. Every joke struck a nerve. Every overreaction proved the point. But this story isn't just about one man who can't take a joke. It's about what happens when power treats criticism like treason and satire like a threat. Whether it's Jimmy Kimmel, Toyota, or even the Supreme Court, the pattern's the same. Speak up, get smacked down, and maybe that's the real warning here. You don't need to love late-night comedy. You don't have to agree with every ruling or every business move.